Why should I be ashamed? I'm Sheila Calvert. I'm your host for tonight. I'm the author of this book, Why Should I Be Ashamed? Can you do me a favor, like and share, and I'll be right back with some content for you tonight. I'm really excited. I'm excited about helping people together. Yeah. Why should I be ashamed? Welcome back. I am excited tonight about our conversation. We have great conversations. I want to say thank you for watching. Make sure you purchase more book. We are in survivor mode. And tonight we're going to talk again about deep rooted issues. Listen, I've had a great week, as I hope that you have had a great week. These subjects don't come to destroy, condemn, kill, or anything like that. But we come here to build you up, to motivate you, to do the work from the inside out. Because how many know that some of us walk around like everything is all right, but we have some deep rooted issues, and you can see it by the way that we respond to other people's behaviors, the way that we respond to decisions that we have to make. We have to think about why and how, and sometimes we blame it on people. But I want to say tonight, don't be afraid to dig deep down in the root of your situation. You know, I come to understand it took a long time to come to the place and say, you can't make me do anything. You can't make me holler. You can't make me fight. You can't make me scream. You can't make me curse. You can't make me do anything. So when I find myself getting off the marker or getting off of being that wonderful, beautiful person that I'm called to be, I'm called to be peaceful. I'm called to a place of understanding. I'm called to be a great communicator. I'm called to be a listener. And when I'm pulled off of that place and you want to do battle because there's a battle in you, I have went through the process and I have done the work. And let me tell you, it's still a work. And I want to encourage you, don't be afraid to get in action tonight. Don't be afraid. And sometimes when things is coming up and when you look in the mirror and you look at your experience, sometimes it gets frustrated. It gets painful. You may cry. You may react. You may pray. But, you know, come to the place of being the best person that you can be. Be the person that you know that you can be and be healthy. This is all about coming to that healthy place, that peace of mind. So let's get going here. Deep-rooted issues. You know, we talked about that last week. And oftentimes, some of you that have been sexually abused, molested, raped, and that's what we talk about here on Why Should I Be Ashamed, and many other childhood trauma, adult trauma. Trauma is trauma at any age, any stage in life. You can have trauma from the womb. And those things, if they're not dealt with, if we don't put them in check, if we don't address them, they can go into hiding. They can go into a deep place. And all you know is you're just reacting and responding. So I've had some great talks with some great women and men and through the years. And I find that sometimes it's difficult, even when we're going through therapy, it's difficult when we're writing these things down, but just do it. Just try it. Just trust the process. Okay, recognize tonight we're going to talk about recognize and identifying deep rooted issues. And sometimes people see it in you, but I want you to go and dig for your own self. Like I talked about last week, don't let anybody offend you and go scuba diving for your past issues. But I want you to dig deep. And most of us, I really believe that these problems that we have, these experiences that we have, we can't just throw them and hide them and cover them up. I believe we learn to manage our lives. We learn to manage our relationship. Well, the Bible says this is a fire that can't be quenched. That is probably the biggest issue, is really managing what comes out of us. So even though we really don't get over some of these experiences that we've had, we learn to live our lives and we learn to manage. We learn that we are valuable. We learn that we are worth it. You know, the revelation came to me last week when people mistreat me. And I told you that about some relationship that I was in and being mistreated, but yet they said that they loved me, that they didn't feel that they were worth having you. And sometimes we have taken our pain and hurt out on others. Okay, so how do we get to the root? Here's one of the definitions that I looked up. In Webster's, it says, it is usually underground. What is the root? Usually an underground part of a seed plant body that originates usually from the hypospody. It functions as an organ or of absorption. So the root absorbs. And we know that from giving plants water, the root absorbs. Aeration, then it spreads. Or it could be food storage. Sometimes roots hold things. Just listen, this is just using this illustration from a plant. Or a mean of anchorage or support. Support. A stem. So when we think of a root, and we use this analogy, I put a plant down a couple weeks ago, and then I went back 2 weeks later and I tried to dig it back up, and it would not come back up. The roots had went down so deep so quickly. Some things go deep quickly. Some things take a long time. But deep-rooted issues, if we don't address them, flesh left unchecked, it will go deeper and deeper and deeper. Isn't that what the enemy want us to do? Want us to hide all of our hurts and pain, hide and cover it up, hide and then we become this place of almost, I don't know if this is the correct word, but we come out of our sorts. We become like deformed almost. When you have all these issues where we talked about last week, sickness, illness, pain, just all kind of different things that manifest because of the root. So I want to share with you 4 steps to getting to the root. How do we get to the root? How do we get to the root? Number 1, we really have to get to the root through forgiveness, love. That's what makes life worth living. It's the giving and forgiving. And the love help us to get through it. I was talking to one of my sisters today, and I was telling Lola, I said, you know, the thing that got me through most of my pain and frustration was the fact that I had someone to love me when I was a little girl. My uncle would come and take me places and do special things, making me feel special. And that did something. So make sure that you, when people come into your lives, and she was telling me about a little girl that she loves, and she makes sure, I said, but you're planting a seed. You may not be able to deliver every child from bad situations. You may not be able to deliver every man or woman from abusive situations, but when they're in your presence, you can plant good seed. You can give good value to human life, to people. So how do we have to, as everything, we have to, in order to get to the root, to get to that place of healing and that place of deliverance, so to speak. Number one, we have to deal with the denial, suspicious, recognitions, and accepted. Number one, what is denial? Denial, most of the time, I don't have a problem. I've been sexually abused, I've been raped, but you know, I'm over it now. Have you ever heard people say that? I'm talking about the day after. I'm over it, put it behind me, don't want to talk about it. Sometimes I present my book to people and I talk about it. They say, oh, my uncle raped me, and honey, the family is over it. They don't want to address it. I don't know. You know. But denial cause deep-rooted issues. I've seen people live in denial, and then 20 years later they come back trying to address the issue, trying to remember who, where, who did it happen, and now they have a whole different story. I even remember one of my loved ones say, well, you knew all about it. I had no idea what was going on, but because they didn't deal with it in their young age, and as they got older, they thought, and I said, well, I didn't know, but neither was it my responsibility if I was a kid too. But sometimes when we're in denial, it's not always just because we want to lie to ourselves. Sometimes we just don't know how to handle it. We just don't know how to address the issues. And that has been most of our people, parents, friends, family. They just put a blanket over it. Let's just get a black curtain, cover it up, and let's talk about something else. You don't want to talk about this tonight. I understand. And so those cause deep-rooted issues. Denial. Suspicion. You believe everybody need help but you. It's always, you ever met people and there's always something wrong with everybody else. You can talk to them for 20 minutes. It's always going to be about what someone has done to them. They're always the victim. They're the victim in every relationship. They're the victim on their job. They're the victim at church. They're the victim at the family reunion. They are always the victim, because they don't realize that they need help. They might need counsel, or they need to dig a little bit deeper. Get off the surface. Get off of what everybody else is doing. Why do you respond to everybody else? Recognition. You know you need help, but you don't want anyone else to know. I understand. Honey, if you have to go to the island, go away, sneak off. Go away, get what you need. Recognize that you need help. If you don't want other people to know, that's why I put these on YouTube, so you can go and watch YouTube. Nobody have to see you watching. Because, you know, we are so nosy sometimes and not concerned, where we should be more concerned and more caring. So I understand. Look at it, check it out, and have some application. But you got to know, do what you got to do to get yourself better. Acceptance. I want to be free, and I don't care who knows it. That's the place that I had to get to. I want to be free, It doesn't matter if the world sees me. It doesn't matter what you think you know. And most gossipers, they got their own stories. Most people that put you down, I'm telling you, for years, I've seen people pick on people. I've seen people emasculate men. I've seen people put people down, and then come to find out they had been sexually abused, and that was their way of hiding. If I uncover you, if I embarrass you, if I talk about you, then I can stay in hiding. And listen, we all have to come to that place and accept that the truth of the matter is most of us have learned to deal and cope with our traumas and our issues. But I want you to be free of those things that are deep rooted, those things that you deny, that you're suspicious, that you're in recognition and acceptance. Trauma, deep rooted issues. I'm just going to name some of the things, name just a few things. There's hundreds and thousands and hundreds and thousands. And most of us is just going through life, going through the motions. People crying, don't know why they're crying. Deep rooted issues. You need to ask God, why am I crying all the time? Why am I so emotional or non-emotional? Why don't I feel? Why am I so cold? We need to have balance in all things. Isn't that right? We went to the other, last week, my husband and I, we went to a charity event. And it was about abortions. And people who has had abortions, who has done abortions, who wanted to get an abortion, who told somebody to get abortion, you may have a deep-rooted issue. Because that is a hard experience to just go through the motions, even though you may never have talked about it. Back in the 80s, it was just being done just as a way of birth control. That may be the reason. You may be crying. You don't remember, but it's so deep down in there. And it can purge up tonight, and you can get over it. You can be forgiven for anything but blasphemer. Discipline, and I'm not going to go through these too much. I'm going to just name a few and go through a little bit. Discipline, you might have got traumatized doing whooping. You might have got traumatized by how you whoop someone. You might think later, oh, I shouldn't have did this. I wish I wasn't a hard of a parent as I was. I know my motivation was love. I know I did what my mother did, but now I wish some of those whoopings was just too long. Some of them was ridiculous. So that make me kind of traumatized as a mother. Then I had to come back and say to my children, please forgive me. That was a little bit much. Now, the ones that forgave me, we've moved on. But the ones that they just keep repeating. And let me tell you about trauma. If you don't deal with it, it keep hitting your brain like a hammer, like a nail. It just keep nailing. And then you want to nail everybody else to that same cross. It just keep hammering. It goes deeper until it's like unresolved. You can't keep doing that to your brain. You can't keep traumatizing your brain. We got to get free. All kind of abusiveness. Addictions. The reason people manifest that they have all these addictions because they have deep-rooted issues. Smoking addictions, alcohol, sex, pornography, drug. There's a deep-rooted issue somewhere because it's not normal. It's unhealthy. Why do we call right wrong and wrong right? It's not normal to do some of the things we do. Lying. You ever seen a person just lie just to be lying? Deep-rooted issue. Got to cover up. Got to make a game. Got to create a facade. Got to create a story. A person that's depressed, deep-rooted issues. A person that's unruly. Everybody got to control them. Everybody got to hold the gates or put handcuffs on them. Deep-rooted issues. Jealousy. Always comparing, deep-rooted issues. There's many different traumas that cause deep-rooted issues. And as I was doing this study, I said most of these, the recovery is doing the very opposite. Opposite of abortion is give life. Opposite of addiction is to find other answers, other ways. Opposite of lying is telling the truth. If you can ever stop lying and just start telling the truth. Unruliness, you got to find. Somebody said, manage my anger. Listen, I'm gonna talk about one of them tonight. Let's talk about jealousy. Usually, when a person have the spirit or the root of jealousy, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of a person that have jealousy? And name a few. If you can name a few, just tap them up there, write them up there. What comes to your mind, you guys, when you think of a jealous root? Is anybody ready?
Yes. So, when I think of a jealous root, the first thing that comes to mind is the slowly deterioration of myself from the inside out. So, this root, whether it's being, whether I notice that it's actually in me or not, the fact that it resides, it's spreading. And so the first thing I think about on a jealous root is whether I'm dealing with it, whether the person that I'm jealous of is in front of me or not. This jealous root is slowly eating away at me on the inside. And if I don't deal with it, I would be left with a empty shell of myself.
Let me give you some of the manifestation. Jealousy, all of our issues are rooted by some kind of rejection. So let's establish that. One of the roots of jealousy is resentment. Most people that are jealous, they resent something about themselves and they manifest it on someone that maybe have what they want or what they think they want. What I think when I think of jealousy, I think of a person that is enraged, and I don't like to be in the midst of jealous people because sooner or later, if they don't pray that thing off, it's gonna manifest. It's just gonna root and root until they gonna fight you, cuss you out, be mad at you, be angry, lie on you, talk about you. People that have resentment and the root of jealousy, they create chaos for you. Jealous roots usually have a root of hate, spite, cruelty, variance. They can be selfish, miscalculating, revengeful, comparing, rage, heartburn, self-centered, angry, division, selfishness, vigilant, grudging, possessive, envious, resentful, covetousness. Just think about when you see the manifestation. Bitterness, revelry, competition, murder, wrath, suspicion, doubt, mistrust. Isn't that people that are jealous? Don't they usually have doubt and mistrust? They control, the fear of loss, the fear of a position, fearful of affection, and they're watchful. And it's like they're always dividing. Jealous, they don't want this one to get along with that one. They don't want this one to get along with that. And if you have any of those things, and there are many more, you need to work on just getting the root out. And what did we say? You got to address it. You got to acknowledge. You got to deal with, hey, I got a problem. I have a problem. So that's just one issue. I want to talk about another, the spirit of heaviness, the root of heaviness. people that are depressed all the time, people that are mean, people that are mad, people that, and a lot of, we talked about the deep root. When you're dealing with heaviness, a lot of it comes out with depression. Have you ever dealt with a person that is all, you can say, um, let's say this is a beautiful book, but they'll say, oh, well, I read it and I didn't like this part. Or you say, well, would you, this is a beautiful drink of strawberries. Oh, I don't like strawberry. It's always something. And they're always heavy and they're always depressed and it's always something heavy. And those people, when you think about the root of depression, what are some of the signs that you see in those people? And that we have to address. We have to make some changes, honey. We have to renew our mind and get in some right thinking. Otherwise, we keep making some things that are minor, we make them major. I'm not saying that your experience wasn't major, but I'm saying we can recover and learn to cope with issues without smothering them. But you have to stop saying everyone is making you do a thing and realize and come to the conclusion that I am responsible. I'm going to do another one. When you think about depression, I have loneliness. What are some of the things that when you think about dealing with people that have depression, those that maybe don't have their medication, or even some of them use medication and they still can't get to the deep root. And I'm not talking about just a imbalance, emotional, but I'm saying when I'm talking about the trauma that has caused deep-rooted issues in our memory, in our brain, in our spirit. We have to continue to do the work and learn how to cope. And it's not fair that we take it out on everybody around us and we find a reason to be mean and we find a reason to be sad and I'm not saying that you don't need somebody to talk to, because I do. I needed someone to talk to today. I needed someone to encourage me today, and I encourage someone today. And you should find someone that you can be encouraged and not just sit and use, God is good and church is good. But a lot of times I used to go to church when I was a single mother. I wasn't getting child support. I was working and in the salons day and night. I didn't have, the only support I had was spiritual support. But even after church, I would go home. We would have a great time. And I would go home and I would just cry because I was lonely. I didn't have nobody to have dinner with. I didn't have great Christmases. I didn't have great Thanksgiving, just there alone, trying to cope with the deep-rooted issues and the lives that I had created that I felt responsible for. So, I kind of got off on that, but back to the root of depression. Can you all name some of the things that the spirit of heaviness, self-pity, people that are depressed, that's one root they need to get out of there is self-pity. It's woe is me. Despair. You can give them 3 points and a poem. You can give them ice cream. It's always despair. Loneliness. Trouble. And I notice people that are depressed, they real stiff. You try to talk them out of it and they're stiff-necked and they're stiff. They're not going to move. That depression is almost a good feeling. And maybe it's just because they have created it and have dealt with it so long, this issue so long, that they believe that it cannot be transformed, that they can't get changed. But you have to believe and have faith that you can change. Gloominess, hopelessness, melancholy, gluttony, oh my goodness, I don't know. Gluttony is at the root of a lot of issues. We use food to cover up everything. And like, I'm not fat shaming anyone, but let me tell you, some of our daughters and our sons, you are too young. You are too young to be in this place of not resolving your problems and your issues and using gluttony to cover it up. And then gluttony, once take root, then it's causing other physical problems, emotional problems. And then we want relationships, and we're so bombarded by the weight of this issue. No one can really get close to us. So what do you all think about this gluttony thing that we're doing? And a lot of us deal with it. Bruised, weariness, can't fight, can't get yourself no sleep, mourning. Somebody died, you mourn for 7 years. The people got dead and gone, you still mourning. 20 years, you still mourning. You just always mourning. Inadequacy, rejection, sad, grief. You mope around, oppression, deterioration, sorrow, sadness, exhaustion, low spirits, sluggishness, wish you could die. These are some of the roots that comes out when we're depressed. Exhaustion, discouragement. And I got these from some of the studies that I studied, and you should know them by their fruit. And it had trees, and the trees had branches, and the branches showed us low spirit, inexcitable. Do you all know people that's inexcitable? Don't get excited about nothing. Everything is always ready to go. Everybody having a great time at the party, and you ready to go. Before it even gets started, you're ready to go. Listen. Sometimes it is very, very, very hard to get to the root of our experiences and our issues. But if you can stop saying to yourself, I'm the only one, if you can stop victimizing yourself and realize that this problem has been here for a long time. Many people has had the same problems that you have and have gotten through it. We have to fight to live, have faith to live, and we have to, what they say, fight or flight. We're going to respond to either way. When you see people that is glad, that is moving around, that the movers are shaking, it's not because they don't have or have not had trauma or experience, because some of us maybe experienced, like I said, things in our adult life. It's new to us. But, excuse me. Whew. We all have traumas. We need to reverse engineer our pain. We need to write down our growth too. Oftentimes we're always on the negative. We're always addressing the negative. I was listening to some women the other day on YouTube or something, and they was talking about children, how a lot of times when our children come in, I think Toni Morris said this, a lot of times our children come in and we say, put your hat on first, put your shoes up, tie your shoes up, pull your pants up, put your hat on, or hold your face up, straighten your back up. And all our children want you to do is just light up. Do you see me? Do you acknowledge me? Can you? And that is for all of us. We just want to be loved, be cared, be respected, be treated nice. Don't come finding everything wrong with me before you can even see something good with me, but I want you to see something good with yourself. Even as you've been watching Why Should I Be Ashamed? And I want to thank so many of you that call me and that say to me, this is a blessing. Write down your growth. Write down there how you have gotten better in life. And maybe not just from Why Should I Be Ashamed? Maybe you have made a decision to read. Write that down. Maybe you made a decision to go to the gym. Write that down. Maybe you had a decision. You've made a decision. I'm going to keep my car clean. Write it down and acknowledge and give yourself a reward. Be grateful. I'm grateful for everything. So sometimes I just walk and I'm just thankful. Everything that has happened to you has also happened for you, Oprah Winfrey. Everything that has happened to you has happened for you. So you know what? We can go to the root of our problems and address it. Or we can go through life and keep letting everything just pile up and just let everything and just continue to be mean to people, to be short with people, to be angry with people, to be jealous of people, to be depressed. And you have to acknowledge that it's you. It's you. No one, you remember we used to say the devil is making us do it. You know who the devil is. There is no red horn, long dressed person. I mean, there are spirits, but we have to close the doors. So let's begin to shut some of these doors. Let's begin to acknowledge some of our issues. And I'm going to ask Pastor Calvert and Broderick, who's been quiet and silent. He loved to go silent, honey. He's been silent for weeks. I ain't heard him preach in months. He loved to go silent. But tonight, what would you recommend when we're talking about getting to the root of our problems? In the dentistry, they usually shoot a little anesthesia down in there before they snatch that nerve out. And they dig deep. And then it's done. How do we get to the root tonight? I'm asking you, gentlemen, because sometimes it's just good to hear from you.
How you get to the root? So one, I think, is one to recognize whatever that might be, the pain, and to acknowledge it. That the feeling that you have, and it's kind of like when they say when you go through a drug addiction, you have to admit that you are a drug addict and things like that. So it's kind of just to recognize the reality of your feelings and how things are triggering different things. But it just so I just think it's just to admit it. Sometimes we try to block out things as if it didn't happen and all those things, but if you really just, okay, it happened to me. Mm-hmm. It's not right, it wasn't okay, but it happened, so now how do I move forward from that? And I think that's when we stop living in this false reality, but really just recognizing and admitting where you've been, who you are, and what happened to you. I think that's when you can move on. Because, we try to camouflage a lot of different things. And that's all throughout life, not just in, sexual abuse or anything like that, but we camouflage a lot of things. It's just like we look on Facebook and different things and,
We're pretty on Facebook.
Yeah, we're pretty. We, posing next to a car that's not ours, but we want to put that perception out there. But when you get to the root and are okay with who you are, I think that's a big thing, and being free from the opinions of people, and live your truth, as you have said it plenty of times, live your truth.
Wow, thank you. I believe in relationships, and I've only lived a short time, but it's like you learn to cope. I've had the experience, but it's not funny, it's not fun, but it was 30 years ago. But I've learned to cope. I've learned to look back at my life and say, oh, this is why I did this. Oh, this is why I yet today do this. And I respond in this way. And so I can catch myself and say, hey, you can cope with that a little bit better. You can handle that. I don't like arguing with anybody. I really try to go to a calm place it takes, and I don't want to put anything out there. But I try not to provoke people, and I try to go down, go lower, humble myself. And humility, love, and forgiveness goes a long way. And I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I'm saying we must humble ourselves and get past these issues, get past what it does, because like Anthony said, it also causes deterioration. What are some of the things we can do, Anthony, to get to the root of things?
Well, I definitely enjoyed what Broderick had to say. I think most of all is the number one thing I think would be most important in getting to the root is to place a pertinence on having that root inside. In other words, it needs to be important. Mm-hmm. Anything that's not important, we will keep it on the back shelf or we will let it remain. But to put a pertinence on it, an importance that this is something I have to deal with is number one. Number two is to reach out and to see if you can find others or find someone you can talk to about it, because a lot of the people that will probably hear this, they won't be able to reach out to Sheila Calvert and be able to have a conversation. But to actually get help, if you cannot deal with the root yourself, find a way to get some support to help and deal with it. But the main thing is the pertinence, make it important that you're going to deal with it and not keep letting it lie as if it's not there.
Well, this subject tonight, I don't want to go any longer. We've been here for a little bit, but I really want us to know that we can overcome. We don't have to sort of comply with the negativity that goes on in our past and our lives. You can learn to cope and to get through this and get over it if you would just have some application. But you do have to do the work. And I'm not saying that it's not going to be painful. I'm not saying when you say to yourself, why am I so nasty? Why am I so mean? Why am I so bitter? Why do I compare myself? Why do I always try to bring division? Why do I, when I see people happy, why do I get mad? Why do I go to celebration, but I'm sitting there pouting? See, when you begin to really deal with you, it may be painful, but just address it. Look up one word. Look up the opposite also of what you're doing. If you mean, look up what joy looks like. Look it up. You can find thousands of words, thousands of definitions to define joy and to bring some change to gloominess. Why when I come in the presence, the room was up and then it goes down. I'm so gloomy. And I know the most deepest secret is not no secret to it all, is the lack of love. We want to be loved. And we want to be loved when we're not lovable. And only one person gonna do that is when you mean and stuff, and that's God and your mama. Maybe your daddy. But isn't that the root? When we got to get down in that root, and we want to be loved, we want to be cared, but the way to go about it, sometimes we're going about it all wrong. I've been here for a while. I want you all to just check us out on YouTube. Make sure that you get to the root of your issues. Make sure that you take the time for yourself. And if you're one of them people that you're always blaming the other people, it's always remove yourself from those atmospheres. You won't have anybody to blame. And then see what happens when it's just you. Thank you for watching Why Should I Be Ashamed? And let's deal with it. And let's not degrade ourselves. Let's not feel that we're the worst of the worst, because all of us have something rooted, good or bad. So just deal with it. Deal with you, because I'm dealing with her. Thank you again for watching.